YouTube, how's it going? Noire321 back again with my pickups for the month of May, so let's go ahead and get into it. But before I mention any of these games, I want to briefly talk about a game I mentioned in my last video that I rented, and that'd be Homefront. I rented it for $2 out of a Redbox machine, and I am glad I only spent $2 on it, because it was not a very good game. Very just generic is all I can say about it. And I kind of knew that going in. It got really poor reviews, and I mean, I beat the game in like 3 or 4 hours, which is just pathetic for a single-player game. And that's really what they advertised about the game. They had a gripping story, and they brought in the writer from like Red Dawn and things like that. So they really, advertised this single-player campaign as something really gripping and emotional and everything like that. But I didn't see that at all. I think it had some potential, but they really fell flat, and it just felt like a Call of Duty clone, just another first-person shooter, indistinguishable from all the other ones. I didn't play online because they actually need an online pass, sort of. I think you can play, but you can't level up your guy past level 5. But whatever. I wasn't, I doubt anyone was playing online anyway. So I rented it at noon and returned it at about 6 o'clock that day. So yeah, not a great game, but for a $2 rental for some achievement points or some trophies or whatever, might be worth a shot. It's okay, but it's not a game I'll be buying anytime soon, that's for sure. But let's go ahead and get into the actual games I did buy. We'll start off with the retro games, only 3 this month. I've been in my flea market a few times, but not a whole lot there, but whatever. Anyway, I picked up these 3 from a seller. It was 3 for $10, which isn't the greatest deal considering these games, but I don't see much out there, so I pick up retro games when I can. 3 NES games, first being Pinbot. It's a NES port of an actual a pinball machine that actually came out back in the day. Decent game for the NES, honestly. Better than I expected. I like pinball a lot, but I usually play it on the computer. There's a emulator, I guess you could call it, they have out there called is it virtual pinball or visual pinball? One of the two, something like that. But I use that, and that actually does really well. So in comparison to that, this isn't that great, but for an NES game, not half bad. The second one is Top Secret Episode Go-Go 13, based on a manga or anime, as I understand. Okay game, it's sort of a love or hate game. People either really love it or really hate it, and I can't really decide. I only played it for 5 minutes, and it seems kind of, I don't know, it didn't really grip me that much, so maybe we'll go back and try it again, but it's so far not that great. And really what I picked the lot up for was Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest, and this completes the trilogy for me of Castlevania games. I have 1 and 3, and I really like them. Played a little bit of 2. I couldn't really figure out what to do or where to go. But it's not that bad, really. Maybe I'll try to explore a little more, go on to GameFAQs or something, and get a guide and see if I can figure out what to do. Because I hear mixed things about this. It's obviously infamous because the angry video game nerd reviewed it, so now everyone assumes it's an awful game. But I actually heard quite the opposite, that most people really like the game. So I can't really decide. So maybe I'll dive into that a little more and figure it out for myself. But yeah, those are the only 3 retro games, 3 NES games for $10. So now we'll go ahead and move on to the new games for the month, and 2 big titles that I picked up for the month. I'm sure most of you picked up. First being Portal 2. I got it for the Xbox 360. At the time this came out, the PSN had just went down, I think maybe like the weekend before. I was going to pick it up for PS3 anyway, because with the PS3 version you get a voucher to redeem it for free on Steam for PC. So, I don't know, I figured that'd be worth it. They're really not different between the two, so might as well pick up the one that comes with the free PC thing. But Kmart was out of the PS3 version, so I just picked up the 360. It was on sale, I think it was a week after this came out. It was on sale for $35, which it's like $40 across the board now, so soon. But picked up for $35, couldn't resist. Very cool game, very cool. I've played a little bit of the first one, not a lot. I have it on my computer, but it runs really bad, so I can't get that far into it. But yeah, Portal 2 is a very cool game. Very, I don't know if it's very challenging, but it's at times you find yourself stuck, but then you have kind of like an aha moment, and you just move on past the puzzles. The writing is hilarious in that game. I really love that. And the story's really cool. I mean, I beat this game in like a day. I was hooked. I just could not put it down. And it's very cool. I really want to try co-op. So if any of you out there have this game on 360 and want to do some co-op, go ahead and add me on 360. I'll put up my gamer tag on here. But yeah, add me on there and we'll play some Portal 2 co-op because I really want to try that out. But the single player is fantastic. I'm thinking maybe I'll run through it again, try to get some more of those achievements. But a very cool game, very awesome puzzle game. Definitely would recommend it to any of you out there, for sure. And the next big title that came out this month that I actually started getting hyped for in the weeks up to its release. You know, I was sort of looking at it previous to that, but I really started to build up some hype, you know, to me in the last couple weeks, and that'd be Noire. I have some mixed feelings about this. I don't know. Overall, it's a good game, I think. I definitely prefer other Rockstar titles in the past. Grand Theft Auto 4 I really like. All the Grand Theft Auto games. Red Dead Redemption was really fun. This is good. It's different, so I mean, don't go into it expecting that. Expect something more along the lines of like a Mafia game or a Getaway game. It's not the same open world structure. You don't go from place to place getting different missions at free will. You know, a mission will start. It'll show a title screen and like a cutscene, and then once the mission's over, it gives you a grade and it goes on to the next one. However, you can, you know, fool around in between objectives within the mission, so it's kind of open world. But that's not really the point. It's not meant to be like that. It's meant to push along the story, tell a narrative, so you're not supposed to get distracted, really. There are some extra things you can do. You can get, there are a handful of side missions. There's like 40, I believe, 41, something like that. There's almost 100 cars you can drive. So for any of you perfectionists out there, there's that much to do. The facial animations are fantastic in this game. I mean, everyone already knows that, I think, but it's unbelievable. It's really, really good. It's the best I've ever seen in the game, and I would think that Rockstar is probably going to, at least if they should, try to buy out Team Bondi and, you know, secure that technology to use in all their games going forward, because it's fantastic. It adds a whole new level of realism to, you know, the interactions of the characters. Let's see, the actual structure of the game as far as interrogating and things like that, can't really decide. I think what most people ended up doing, including myself, is just kind of guessing throughout. If you don't know how it's set up that when you interrogate someone, you can either believe what they're saying, you can doubt, which is sort of just, you know, push them a little harder to see if you can squeeze something else out of them, or you can accuse them of lying, but you need to have hard evidence from crime scenes and people and things like that to prove the lie. So you have to sort of gauge their facial expressions and where they're looking and things like that to determine if they're lying or if they're telling the truth or whatever. And in the end, it sort of ends up being just a crapshoot, really. There's no hard way to, I mean, there kind of is, but it's sort of hard to tell. And in the beginning, it's easy, but towards the end, it gets a little confusing. Like, you think you have evidence, but you don't, or you use the wrong evidence. Like, for instance, there was a guy I was talking to who said he wasn't at a certain place at a certain time, but I had found evidence earlier of a logbook that said he was there, and I accused him of lying and used the logbook, but it didn't work for whatever reason. So I mean, some of it's a little counterintuitive. It's weird, but I guess on a second playthrough you might be able to figure this stuff out. I might go back to some cases and redo them just to get better scores. There were a couple of them that I completely bombed, but it doesn't stop the game or anything. You could literally put the wrong person in jail and still move on with the story, which is a little strange. But anyway, a decent game, but it has some things to work out. If an LA Noire 2 comes out and they sort of take a look at these criticisms and fix the things that were wrong with this first one, I think that has a lot of potential to be a really, really good game. But as it stands right now, I don't think this is like a Game of the Year contender for me, but it's still a good game, definitely worth trying out. If you're on the fence, I might wait for a price drop, just because if you're already on the fence, I don't think this will necessarily wow you. I think anybody that wanted to check it out probably already bought it. So if you still haven't got it and you're not quite sure, maybe hold off a little bit. But still, overall, pretty cool game. Yeah, not too bad. And with it, Kmart had a fantastic deal on LA Noire, I'll tell you what. it came with a $20 gaming coupon, which is pretty much just a $20 voucher that you can use on any game purchase, which is good enough. But it also came with a free $20 game of your choice, like $20 or less, like a clearance game basically. So you get LA Noire for full price, a free $20 game plus $20 in gaming store credit. So I pounced on that deal for sure. So the free $20 game I picked up, one I've heard a ton of good stuff about, is Bayonetta. I've only played a couple minutes of this. It hasn't really hooked me. It's really Japanese. I mean, that's the only way I can describe it. It's like the first scene is you fighting in a graveyard, and there's like Japanese, like pop-ish music playing in the background. It's just, I don't know. I can't really decide if I like it or not. And so far, I've played about 5 minutes of it and watched about 20 minutes of it. It's just cutscene, 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 cutscene. And it's a little, boring. I don't know. Yakuza's kind of like that too, so maybe that's Sega games or Japanese games are all like that. I'm not really sure, but I don't know. Maybe I'll get back to it and we'll see, but it's just, I don't know. It hasn't really hooked me, but it was free, so who cares? And I've always heard good things about it, so I figured I'd give it a shot. Maybe we'll go back to it, but so far, I don't know. It's not really getting at me like I'd like. This one's sort of the same deal. I found this at a bookstore out by the flea market, marked down to $10, and that was Mad World for the Wii. This sort of interested me before I had a Wii, because there's not many games that look like this for the Wii, that are bloody and rated M for mature and that are like that, So I figured I'd try it. I've heard mixed things about it, I guess, and it's okay. I mean, I don't know. It didn't really grab me. Like I said for Bayonetta, Mad World didn't really grab me. I played through a level or two, and maybe I'll pop it back in eventually. But it just seems kind of mindless and just repetitive so far. Not a whole lot to it. I think the black and white color scheme makes it sort of difficult to see around you and kind of where you're going. At least I had that experience. So a lot of the stuff's really kind of disorienting, and it's just a weird, interesting game for sure. The art style is sort of unique, but I don't know. Maybe we'll get back into it eventually. I got a huge backlog, so who knows when we'll get to that. But $10, it's not a huge loss, really. And I don't have that many Wii games, so it was always nice to add one to the collection, especially on the cheap. And speaking of on the cheap, I was just kind of bored browsing Target. I found this for $20. That's Alan Wake. And this game is really, really cool. This is a awesome game. If you're a fan of sort of psychological fiction, Stephen King books and movies, if you're a fan of X-Files or Twin Peaks. So I've never seen Twin Peaks, but everyone mentions that as far as this game goes. So if you're a fan of that, Twilight Zone, anything like that, you'll love this game. It's just a kind of eerie, I don't know, weird, like supernatural sort of story. It's very cool, very intriguing, and it's set up in a sort of storybook fashion. It's set up in chapters. I can't remember how many chapters, but it's set up like a TV show, really. It's a really cool game. Just, I don't know, it's very, very cool. I definitely recommend it. Now that it's super cheap if some of you haven't tried it yet. It comes with free DLC that you can download, which I haven't tried yet. There's a second DLC out that I might try because it's just a very, very cool game. Combat, it gets really repetitive really fast though. You fight these sort of shadow people along the way, and I don't know, at first they present it in a way where it's supposed to be scary and they're supposed to surprise you. You're in the middle of the woods and these like dark shadowy creatures come up and attack you, and at first it's a little scary, but when you run into your 10,000th one and it becomes really scripted and obvious when they're going to come out, and it loses its touch a little bit, so it becomes a little more frustrating, I think, that you fight these guys and it's sort of, you're fighting them just to get to the cutscene. It's not really part of the story. It's not as exciting. It's sort of a pain to do. It's something you have to get through in between cutscenes and story elements to get to the next aspect of the story. Unfortunately, you have to fight these guys, and it's very repetitive, I think. But for the story alone, the game's very cool. Definitely check it out if you haven't already. Yeah, definitely recommend it. And the last pack of games I've got here, I think I've only seen this at Best Buy. I'm not sure if anywhere else sells it, but it's a pretty decent deal. For $30, you get 3 games, PS3 games. It's the ESA Foundation 3-pack, the Entertainment Software Association 3-pack, and It's for PS3, and it comes with Uncharted 1, Tomb Raider Underworld, and Mercenaries 2, and they're all old games. They're from like 2007, I think, 2008. But all proceeds from the purchase go to support positive programs and opportunity for America's youth, which is a little vague, but not sure what that means. But 3 games for $30, not half bad. Played Uncharted and beat it in a day because it's a fantastic game. Uncharted 2 is possibly one of my favorite games of this generation. I think that franchise is probably my favorite new IP this generation for sure. Uncharted 2 is a fantastic game. Uncharted 1 is very, very, very good. If Uncharted 2 is an A+, Uncharted 1 is an A. You can see it comes with the greatest hits title, so those of you who don't like that probably wouldn't want to pick this up. But Uncharted is a little more rough around the edges. It's the first game, so obviously you kind of got to expect that. The combat is really frustrating sometimes. Man, there were some times where I really wanted to throw the controller against the wall just because they put you in the most like awkward sort of environments, and it's you against literally like 50 people just non-stop shooting at you. In the millisecond you pop out of cover, every single one of them is raining bullets on you, and it's just so frustrating sometimes, especially towards the end. Oh my goodness. The second one definitely balances out a little more. I think this one's probably maybe 70% fighting, 30% platforming. The second game's definitely more 50-50, definitely a better balance. First game's still very good, looks very good. I definitely, if you played the second one but haven't played this one, give it a try. You'll like it, I think. But it's not as good as the second one. But I can't wait for the third one to come out this November. That's going to be awesome. But anyway, Uncharted, definitely the best game in the 3-pack for sure. Awesome game. I've been wanting to try it forever, so I figured I'd pounce on it with this 3-pack. Played a little bit of Tomb Raider Underworld, and it's okay. You can sort of tell. I don't know if this came out after Uncharted or before, but you can tell it's pretty similar to that. But I don't know, something about it's just not as polished, not as great. I don't know. It's okay. I think I played through a level or two, and you start off swimming underwater, and that's super disorienting because you have no idea where to go. The controls aren't that great. It's just not as much going for it as Uncharted for sure, but still okay. And I haven't tried Mercenaries 2 yet, which is like a sort of, I don't know if it's open world or not, but it's kind of like Just Cause, I guess, where you pretty much just blow up stuff and you use a lot of vehicles and guns, and it's just mayhem for mayhem's sake. So maybe we'll give it a shot one day when I'm bored. But yeah, Uncharted definitely the best game out of this 3-pack, but you get Tomb Raider and Mercenaries thrown in there, each one for $10. Not half bad, really. Decent deal. So that's it for my games. Rambled on a little bit, but it's late at night, so give me a break. But we'll see if I put up another video next month, depending when I move, and yeah, so I'll keep you guys up and let me know. And I don't know why I said let me know, but anyway, for now, Noire 321, signing out.